History is full of crimes. But some are so cruel, so calculated, so soaked in silence. They feel more like nightmares than reality. In 1781, aboard a British slave ship called the Zong, 132 enslaved Africans were thrown alive into the Atlantic Ocean, not because they were dying, not because the ship was sinking, but because their deaths were worth more than their lives, and no one was ever punished. This is a story of greed, murder, silence, and the rage that ignited a movement. This is Cortex Crime. The Zong wasn't built to carry people. It was built to carry cargo. In August 1781, the ship left Accra, on the West African coast, loaded with 470 enslaved men, women, and children, far more than its legal limit. Conditions were horrific. People were chained, stacked, and packed below deck in suffocating heat. No sanitation. No medical care. Just fear. And waiting. The captain, Luke Collingwood, was a man of declining health and questionable skill, and his decision to overload the ship would lead to one of the darkest maritime crimes in history. As the Zong set sail for Jamaica, problems arose quickly. Fresh water was contaminated. Disease spread. Dysentery and fever took hold. Then, Collingwood made a navigational error. He overshot Jamaica by hundreds of miles, sailing into unknown waters. By the time he realized it, the ship had drifted into a region of calm winds known as the doldrums. They were lost. Food was almost gone. Water even worse, and what the captain did next was monstrous. Captain Collingwood made a cold decision. He opened the insurance manual. According to maritime insurance law, if slaves died of natural causes, the owners got nothing. But if they were jettisoned overboard to save the ship during an emergency, like a water shortage or disease outbreak, then they were considered lost cargo, and the insurance would pay. Each African life was now worth £30 in blood money. All Collingwood had to do was commit mass murder. On November 29, 1781, the executions began. 54 enslaved Africans were dragged onto the deck and thrown into the Atlantic. Many were still alive. Some resisted. Others cried. Some sang final prayers. Witnesses later testified that the water around the ship was filled with thrashing limbs and screams. The next day, 42 more victims. On day 3, 26 more. One woman held her baby. A crewman ripped the child from her arms, tossed it overboard first. Then the mother. They did it in batches. Calculated. Unhurried. By the time they were done, 132 men, women, and children were murdered. Most of the crew said nothing. Many believed in the necessity of the act. Others feared speaking out. But James Kelsall, a young officer, kept a hidden logbook. He documented everything: the number killed each day, the lack of real water shortage, the captain's true motive, claim insurance. Kelsall later said, it was not desperation. It was business. And when the Zong finally reached Jamaica, the captain reported 132 Africans were lost at sea. But his report wasn't a confession. It was a claim for reimbursement. The ship's owners, Gregson Company, sued their insurers for £4,000, but the underwriters refused to pay. Why? Because murder isn't usually covered. So the case went to court in March 1783, Gregson versus Gilbert. But here's the catch: no one was charged with murder. This was a civil case, not a criminal one. At trial, lawyers calmly discussed the necessity of the jettison cargo disposal. Whether Africans were goods under maritime law. It was dehumanization in real time. Then came Granville Sharp, a leading abolitionist. He obtained trial transcripts and spread them across London. Pamphlets, newspapers, churches. The public learned that 132 souls had been drowned on purpose. For profit. People were horrified. Sharp tried to bring criminal charges for murder, but the court dismissed them. No one would be prosecuted. Because, under British law, enslaved Africans weren't considered fully human. They were property. It wasn't murder. It was a financial loss. The Zong case became the turning point in the fight against the slave trade. Artists like J.M.W. Turner painted haunting images of bodies thrown overboard. Writers like Olaudah Equiano, a former enslaved African, shared the story with Parliament. Churches spoke out. Students marched. The public had seen behind the curtain, and what they saw was an empire drenched in blood. It would still take another 26 years to abolish the British slave trade, but the massacre on the Zong was the spark. No monument stands in Jamaica for the Zong's victims. No tombstones, no names. Only the sea knows them, but their screams live on. Every ripple in the Atlantic carries the weight of those 132 souls, men, women, children, with dreams, thrown into darkness. Today, their story reminds us, justice doesn't always win. But silence guarantees it never does. This was the story of the Zong Massacre, not just a crime, a systemic atrocity, a wound in the fabric of history. If this story moved you, share it. Let the world remember what happened, because history isn't behind us, it's beneath our feet. Like bones, at the bottom of the sea. Like, share, and subscribe to Cortex Crime for more untold stories. Because when the truth is buried, we dig it up.